There we go. Hold on. There we go. All right, welcome, future fire breathers. Welcome to the Modern Athlete Podcast, where we redefine what it means to be an athlete. Today, I got a special guest with me today. Her name is Crystal McDermott. She's an all-star athlete, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her athletic journey. So, Crystal, why don't you take it away? Were you always an athlete when you were growing up?
Hi, Sean. I don't know. Athlete's a very strong word.
What does an athlete mean to you?
I don't know. I feel like athlete has definitely like an ingrained discipline into it. And like that's definitely the biggest thing that I've always struggled with fitness and stuff. So I don't know. Like athlete is such a strong term that I definitely don't identify with for sure.
So what do you identify as? Would you just say you're a fitness enthusiast, or what would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I usually say like movement practitioner or like, yeah, fitness enthusiast, those types of things.
Cool.
Yeah, I definitely shy away from the athlete term.
Okay.
Sure.
So athletes, you were more disciplined. It's more rigorous routine.
Yeah, I just feel like those guys are serious.
Okay, I get it. So what inspired you to really like get into fitness? Were you always into fitness, or what really, how would I say, struck the spark? That's what I would go with.
Yeah, so no background at all. I had a pretty intense childhood, and like I at one point I remember kind of being put into team sports and being put into soccer and those types of things that you're put in when you're a kid, and it never worked for me. Like I had a really hard time trusting people, so group sports were never something that I felt comfortable in. I think the first time I ever kind of realized that, I don't know, like physical activity or something like that might be possible for me was kind of when I stumbled upon skateboarding and, individual, like, yeah, in skateboarding, you're in a community, but it's like, it's you and the board and you're individual. And, I didn't really have to worry about anybody else or, things like that. Same with boxing. I dabbled in that a little bit in like my early teen years. Again, there's a community around you, but it's very individualistic. So like those are a couple of things I dabbled in, but yeah, like I said, that consistency piece was always a big struggle for me. And then what really kind of, created that spark and what really got me into fitness was actually meeting my partner at the time, my now husband.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. With meeting him was one of the biggest inspirations. Definitely, I struggled really heavily through my teens and my early 20s with like heavy substance dependence, and that was definitely one of the things that ever kept me from like getting into even like a regular gym routine or anything like that. It even kept me like from consistently skateboarding and those types of things. And then when I met him, he was sober, he was a runner. Like I had never met anybody like that before in my life, and it really just kind of struck me, and I was like, oh my god, he's really inspiring. And then when we started dating, I instantly gave up all substances, and that's kind of what sparked sobriety for me, and that's really what kind of gave me a chance to actually take some sort of fitness seriously. So yeah, I got sober, I started running with him, and not long after that was my first 10K. He had done another one before, but yeah, I completed my first 10K with him.
And what was that in 2012, 2013-ish?
That was, yeah, I think 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, a number of years ago. But that was really my first kind of like, I'm committing to this. I've got accountability from him. I'm sober now. I have no excuses. Let's give it a try.
Yeah.
And that was, that was what really kind of lit the spark.
That's good. Well, congratulations to your husband then. So how was the 10K? What was it like feeling to actually run a 10K?
So this is a thing, right? Like the training is always, it's what gets you set up. So the training is always harder. The actual 10K itself was so much fun. Like by the time we got to that, it was easy. When you're in those situations, like you get so caught up in the crowds and stuff, and it's easier to get distracted. And that's why those events are so much fun, right? Mm-hmm. So the training for it was brutal. Like I had so much resistance. Like this was my first experience with anything like this, right? So much resistance. It was grueling. I remember, the first time trying to run up hills and stuff like that. And, Nathan, my husband, being like miles ahead of me, and him like looking back and seeing me just kind of like leaning against a tree, throwing up, and just like, I can't do this. Just being like, I can't do this. And obviously,
So what really brought you over the finish line? What motivated you to keep going?
I was like, I can't, he's going to keep going, so I got to keep up.
Okay. So your partner was really instrumental in you to get there.
Yeah. Hugely. It's like, that's the cool thing about those events too, is like you can kind of like see somebody who's near you and like create this healthy competition in yourself to be like, well, I'm not going to let them get over the finish line before me. I got to make sure that I'm like, you can create this kind of healthy competition with the people around you too, while still rooting for them and yourself.
That's amazing, Crystal.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You competed in the Spartan last year, I think, right?
Yeah, last year was my first Spartan experience. And I ended up doing 3 races last year to get
cool.
To get a thing called a trifecta in the Spartan community. You have to complete 3 lengths of their races. You have to do a sprint, which is their shortest distance, a super, which is the middle, and then a beast, which is the longest one in that series. And then you collect these little pieces of the middle, and together they make a trifecta. Yeah, so that last year was my first experience with Spartan, and I really just kind of bit the bullet and dove in and did the trifecta.
I'm very impressed by you, Crystal. It's really important to like actually jump into things, not be afraid, even though you might, just like you might not get it immediately. You still got to keep going.
Yeah, that's it.
What was the hardest part about the Spartan races that you found?
So it's honestly, I don't know. Before you do it, you can't comprehend kind of what it's like. And thankfully I had done, so Tough Mudder was kind of my first intro to those like obstacle course races. So I'd done one of those, and like Spartan's a little bit different, but I'd done that, and I'd gotten completely hooked on obstacle course races. I was like, this is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. It asks for everything from you. It asks for, cardiovascular strength. It demands strength from you, endurance, stamina, grit, everything that you have in you. It's going to demand of you at some point during that race, right? And I had never experienced anything like that. And, when you're in it, you're going to have these conversations with yourself on the course where, you have to come up against these thoughts that are going to say, you can't do this, or, you're really kind of going to doubt whether or not you can complete something, and some of the hardest parts on the course are when you come up against that, and you have to combat those thoughts and accept that those thoughts are lying, and try. Even if you don't succeed, just give it a try anyway. And that's when you really know what you're capable of. As far as like like technical stuff on the course. It really depends on, what your venue is. So where I did a few of those races was at in Ontario on a couple ski hills. So there are grueling hills.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Like, you know, training for obstacles is one thing, but unless you have a ski hill in front of you to run up and down every day, you can't train for that.
Exactly. It's gonna be so hard to do. Kind of
It was so hard.
inaccessible, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah. So, I had to just push through. My stomach and my calves were cramped just the
Oh my
entire time. And yeah, that's the most grueling part. If you're doing a Spartan at a ski resort, those hills are gonna test every part of you.
my God. So what kind of strength training did you have to do in order to prepare for Spartan?
So what I did was like I watched a lot of videos
Okay.
before so like I said, I had a little bit of an intro into the types of strength from the Tough Mudder. And so I knew that there would be a lot of pulling strength, that type of stuff. So when I first signed up for Spartan, I looked at some videos of people doing different obstacles and just kind of broke down the components of that. So yes, there's more pulling strength than anything else. So I programmed a lot of pull-ups, chin-ups, like assisted chin-ups and pull-ups. There was a lot of deadlifts. There was a lot of functional movements programmed in, like crawling, like low crawling, bear crawls, monkey bars. Like I would do hill running on the treadmill. It's obviously not the same, but a couple times
I hate the treadmill.
like I know. So I would do hill runs with like a weighted pack on the treadmill, and then there was a lot of carrying. So farmers walks. At my gym, there's like a 80-pound medicine ball that we can carry. So I did a lot of like carries with that. Yeah, it's like really a lot of functional training and a lot of functional movement stuff that I tried to program in. And then just like depending on when I did the sprint is definitely the easiest one because the cardio piece of it, like altogether, is 5 kilometers. So like it's pretty easy to train for that, right? You got to add in there that there's, that's 5 kilometers up and down ski hill, so definitely a little bit different. So
it's always going to be more difficult uphill, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you got to account for.
Absolutely. And like you got to programming in that you're going to do like a tough, like train for a tough obstacle after you're tired is also a really good thing to do because you're going to come up against challenging obstacles when you're drained.
Yeah,
especially in a beast, let's say you've been running for 14 kilometers and now they're going to ask you to carry a heavy ass bucket of rocks up a hill. You know what I mean? So that's where like that grit and that mind piece come in. Your mind is going to give out before your body does. And you got to be willing to have that conversation when it happens. Right? When you come up to that thing and you've got nothing left in you and your mind says you can't do this, what decision are you going to make, right? Are you going to give it a try? Are you going to sit down and say that's it for me, or
you're gonna push on? You're gonna push those feelings behind you and just gotta keep moving, right?
Yeah, or like you just gotta be like, okay, that's fair enough. I'm pretty tired, but I'm gonna ask a little bit more of myself and see what happens, right? It's a constant conversation, and the mental piece is definitely the most challenging piece.
It's like Walton Goggins. Have you read his books at all?
David, yes, David. Yeah.
Talking about how 40%, your mind is only 40% done, right?
Yeah.
You just got to keep moving. You got to test your whole brain capacity.
Yeah, and look at that guy. Like he runs ultras and stuff like that. Like that's a totally different thing. You know what I mean? That shows you the capacity of the human body. Right?
Was that the most rewarding thing about doing the Spartan? What would you say? Was the physical trophies or the mental toughness that you gained from it?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything that I do is for the mental benefits.
Hmm.
I've always, since I got more serious about my fitness and movement journey, it's always been about what can this do for my mind and what can this do for my life. It's, the physical piece has always been a bonus.
Hmm.
I know that, when my mind feels better, my body feels better. When my body feels better, my mind feels better. But everything I've done has been about the mental trophies and the the grit that I've gained to come up against a challenging day after knowing that I just conquered those hills
I,
or you know whatever else. I'm the type of person that likes to have visual reminders of those things. So when I look behind me and I see those reminders, it helps me kind of gather that same strength that I had to gather on those days, right? And that's really the most important thing because all of those things are about how do we live our lives better,
mm,
right?
I get that.
For me anyway, like how does this translate into me living a better life, being a better person, being a stronger person for the people that I love?
Exactly. And that's what it really comes down to, right? And your
Yeah,
fitness journey should also include other people in it as well.
it
Like
has
people,
to.
yeah.
It has
Otherwise,
to.
you're just doing it for no one,
Yeah.
which is your world becomes more better if you do it for somebody else,
Yeah,
you know?
it
So if
does.
someone was new to the Spartan Crystal, what's one big advice that you give them?
I would say
Mm-hmm.
gather up the people that you care most about and do it together.
Okay.
Because when you are on there with people who can cheer for you and you can cheer for, those are the things that are going to get you through those tough moments.
That is good. That
Yeah.
is some solid advice. Because when you have a lot of people supporting you and vibing with you, you like
Yeah.
nothing can stop you, right? And it
And
pushes you to the end.
totally. And if that's not your thing, everybody on that course is cheering for you the same
Mm-hmm.
way that they're cheering for themselves, and no one's going to let you fall behind. So if you are someone who would rather do it solo, um, then you're not going to be alone really.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can gather up some people to do it with you, you will have so much fun. And I was terrified of a lot of things before going into it, and they had to do with fear of failure and this fear of not being strong enough, and these things being tied to my worth. And you know there's no room for any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes up energy. And although they're valid and you acknowledge them, if those things are coming up for you, just know that they're lying. you know the
Push
mental
all
game
the
is.
thoughts to the back of your head, right?
Yeah, yeah. And just say, so what? Like, okay, if I fail, I fail. The most important thing is that you show up. Get the people that you care about and show up. And if you want to train for it, train your pulling strength and your cardio and maybe run up and down a few hills. But if you're not somebody who's like a dedicated person to a fitness regime or something like that, it doesn't matter. You're still going to have a good time. And it doesn't matter if you can complete everything flawlessly and perfectly. You'll learn so much about yourself
Mm-hmm.
that those other things fall by the wayside.
Because
Yeah.
you got to be certain in your uncertainty,
Yeah.
right? Even there's going to be a lot of things that come at you. You just got to keep moving forward. You just
Yeah.
got to push everything aside. Just freaking do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Any last thing you'd like to add, Crystal? You want to plug in your Instagram account? Got a special yoga class you want to promote?
Yeah, I mean, all the fitness classes and everything kind of fell by the wayside at the
I know.
moment. Um, yeah, like I have an Instagram. My Instagram handle is Rise to Thrive, Rise period to period Thrive, and that's really my space where I uh, focus on advocacy for different mental health stuff, promote recreational therapy resources, different things like that, share some fun stuff. So if you want to find me there, I'm there.
Definitely give her a
Any
follow
other
for all the
questions?
listeners.
That's where I am.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Crystal. I really appreciate it. And if for all you listeners at home, remember that you are unstoppable. Follow Crystal on Instagram. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks again, Crystal. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Sean.
Let's face it, this fitness journey you're on is hard as hell to accomplish. If you're struggling to stay motivated in your workouts, you're constantly losing energy and losing your battle to fatigue in your WODs, and you feel like you're losing all your gains in the process, then I got something perfect for you. It's my latest supplement, Sunfire. It's an all-natural and sugar-free energy booster specifically made for you, the CrossFit newbie, to power through the toughest WODs and gain long-lasting energy and endurance. Want to learn more? Then go to www.apollosubs.com and you can find out all about it. I'll see you on the other side.